Over the few decades, Rwanda has made a tremendous progress in terms of access to education. Having big number of children accessing the primary, and also Rwanda being the first country to make a free and compulsory education, going all the way up to the completion of the secondary education. But the big gap which we are facing today, I think there is a quality of teaching and learning achievement, tenable at these levels, and this one is reflected by the mismatch between the number of children we have in the primary schools versus those who transit to the secondary education. The Ministry of Education has been doing a lot of campaign in the last few months, talking to the school management, district officials, the policy makers, the local government, to make sure that they are fighting every cause of repetition and dropout in order to improve the quality of learning and eventually to increase the transition rate from primary to secondary education. The second area of concern is on the use of English. The Ministry of Education, I understand that it has been doing a lot of things, is preparing the policy and implementation tools to make sure that there is a mapping of the English proficiency for all educators, not only teachers in primary, but in secondary, but in the universities as well. And every teacher in primary, in secondary school, every lecturer in university is going to be subject to the English assessment in order to establish the level of the proficiency. And then the training program will be designed to enhance or to retool these people. At the end of the day, they will be satisfied that you have this level, you can improve from this level to the next, but with this level which you have at the moment, you are qualified to be a teacher at this level of education. And I think that is a nice approach, and it is in line of what this report has recommended.
So one of the things I want us to delve into is the issue highlighted by the report, that there has been high enrollment, but also learning outcomes are very low. Now, what is the needful to ensure that the two are in tandem?
Yes, for the last 3 years, I think beginning with the school year of 2016, Rwanda rolled out the implementation of the new competence-based curriculum. So that is, it was a huge shift from the previous curriculum because that was mainly focusing on the knowledge acquisition. But the competence-based curriculum is focusing on the skills acquisition, knowing, not only knowing something, but to do something because of the knowledge which you know. Now, within the competence-based curriculum, it emphasizes the early grades of education, emphasizes on two things. It emphasizes the numeracy and literacy. And the numeracy and literacy, this reads into the quality of learning achievement as the kids moves up to the subsequent levels. That's one. Secondly, Rwanda has been putting a lot of efforts into what you call school readiness. We have this a big national campaign of empowering ECDs, Early Childhood Development Centers. And education is one of the components of ECD program, because ECD program focuses on so many things. It focuses on the food's nutrition, on hygiene, positive parenting, but also on education. Now, since the ECD is focusing to the children all from 0 up to 6 years of age, and a kid who goes into the primary school is one actually who is above 60 years of age. So the ECD, in combination with what the Ministry of doing in terms of the pre-primary schools and increasing enrollment there, that's going to prepare more children. And by the time when they enter the primary school, having gone through the pre-primary and ECD, they will be prepared, and therefore it will increase the pace of learning and skills acquisition in the early years, and that one will help actually to fight the other problem of high rate of repetition, which will eventually lead into the dropout or reading to the overage of children who are in primary education.
So, one of the recommendations made by the World Bank is that there should be sustained investment in the education sector. If you look at the current budget that is allocated to the sector, do you think it reflects the recognition of the government of the importance of building a strong human capital to meeting its economic aspirations?
There are two ways you can look at this. The first way, you look at the budget which goes into education sector in absolute terms. And today, I think education sector is still standing out of the few sectors, maybe second to agriculture, maybe second to health. But it's among the first three sectors actually which consumes the bigger percentage of the national budget. But this report and the others have been focusing more on the nominal terms, looking at the percentage. Now, nominally, yes, the probable percentage might be low, but this nominal budget percentage which is captured by report is not capturing all other components which actually indirectly do contribute to education sector. For example, there is a lot of the budget government puts into the social safety net, into fighting poverty. All of those actually indirectly they come and contribute to the education. There is even the budget which goes into some other infrastructure which are geared towards supporting the district, towards supporting Imirenje. Eventually they also support the schools because the school they belong to district or they belong to a certain Umurenje. So I think nominally, yes, the percentage might not that be at the standard, at the benchmark, but I think if you capture all the elements, Rwanda is still putting a lot of its budget in terms of supporting education. But of course, as the economic grows, definitely, since Rwanda is considering the human capital development as key pillar towards realizing the economic transformation, it will continue putting again significant resources to support education.